Well, finally, a little bit of good news for justice as it appears. Well, I guess only because of your repeated online pressure. Because make no mistake about it, the LAPD was never going to charge Raja Jackson after he tried to take the life of a veteran in a wrestling event because he felt disrespected and he wasn't going to be anyone's chump. So he decided to try and take a man's life. That really happened live on camera, including about 3 hours of pretty clear premeditation, multiple incriminating live stream clips. This case was open and shut about 45 minutes after the crime happened. We are now more than a week later, and we finally have some good news, as apparently Syko Stu will be suing Raja Jackson, as well as new investigators say they will be pressing charges against him. I don't know why this is so complicated, but this is excellent news. By the way, leave a like on the video if you haven't yet. Make sure you follow or subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on all the breaking news. I upload 4 to 5 videos per day, every day, so you don't want to miss a single one. Syko Stu is taking legal action against Raja Jackson following the physical attack that occurred at Knox Pro event on August 23rd. Doug the Epic Malo wrestler who intervened during the attack revealed on the Scaling Up podcast that lawyers are now involved on both sides. Malo stated that he knew from a source that Stu was preparing to sue Jackson for the incident that left him hospitalized with serious injuries. Now, I still maintain, we're going to go to that clip too in a second here. And huge shout out to the Scaling Up podcast for their work covering this. And I don't know if these are always the same guys or whatever, but if you're into wrestling, it seems like a good podcast worth checking out. Here is what he had to say.
Yet, and
by the way, if you want to follow this, I don't know if he's a regular, but definitely, I'll give their channel a subscribe, help them level up.
Doug, you've been talking to detectives, so what can you tell us from those conversations that you've had? Any updates? Will Raja Jackson be arrested from what you're hearing?
Yeah, there's not a doubt in my mind. Everything's on tape, on video, it's premeditated. Just LAPD tends to drag their feet. So the detective asked me a bunch of questions. I even asked about my implications, just because it's, you're involved and whatnot. And he goes, no, there's nothing to worry about. Like, you're just trying to get compliance. Everything was towards Raja. He asked a couple other questions about
So apparently this guy was interviewed by a detective, which is good. I don't know how, you should give this to the old retired guy on the force. Here you go, bud. Here's a slam dunk. But here, Doug continues.
The other videos involved with the people in the back and this and that. Not for implications, just because he's just trying to get information. He's building a solid case. I say a lot. So there's that.
I cut it out, don't worry.
Yeah, thank you.
No, he doesn't. No, he didn't. Just say, I mean, I'm not trying to be with any of these guys. But
yeah, say it as much as you want.
Yeah, perfect. So I talked to a detective friend of mine.
Pause real quick. People, it's rubbing off on me, but people were like, oh, why is there so many jump cuts? What did you cut out? Well, it's literally, if you watch Doug's other podcasts, you'll know.
Yeah, that's so good.
I'll go to the comments.
Doug.
You know how it's Seth freaking Rollins? He should be Doug Malo.
Yeah, I like that. I'm Doug Malo. Yeah, Doug Epic.
All right, this is a serious topic, though.
Okay, yeah, so, it's so good. The detective I talked to outside of the case, just to ask him about formalities, what I should look at, what not to look at. He was saying that this is just how LAPD works. They drag their feet. So they're building the case right now. They get all the evidence. The state's going to pick it up because there's so many people, so many witnesses. Heck, even my little brother saw it. My girlfriend, my mom, all the kids that saw it, all the people there. So that right there, they have the evidence enough to try the case. And then what they're trying to figure out is what level of premeditation is, from my understanding, is why he's trying to figure out what.
So that's the interesting part. It's a level. So what's holding up is they probably needed to find I'm going to put this up on the screen while he talks. There's a guy, he's got a naughty word on his shirt, so I don't want to show that. But
conversations took place, what conversations mean. He was asking me what specific terms mean exactly, and like what they mean to.
Probably, the receipt. They probably had to figure out like, hey, in your world, does giving a guy a receipt mean punching an unconscious man 20 to 24 times? Well, maybe they had to ask. Maybe this is some sort of like hardcore wrestling league where all the hits are real. I mean, hits in wrestling are real, but they're not like always 100% strong. You know what I mean? They're not like 100% delivered. These men are all real athletes, real muscle, real power, they're, all that kind of stuff. But this is interesting. So that's what's been taking so long.
The person they're telling them to.
Thankfully for live streaming, they have a lot of that to look at.
It's so there, and I don't want to speculate, and I don't want to, say anything else because it's all there.
I do want to draw a parallel. There was a situation, I don't know how many wrestling fans are aware of it, earlier this year with this guy named Wes Watson. If you guys watch John Bravo, you know what I'm talking about, where he beat up the 7-foot monster, and he wasn't arrested on the spot. It ended up taking several months for the arrest to happen.
And that was in Florida.
That was in Miami, yeah, where I would assume they get shit done faster than LAPD. So
Maybe
just
not.
because it hasn't happened yet, I still expect it to happen. And it sounds like you do as well, talking to the detectives, right?
Yeah.
And another big question that people have is that when you went on TMZ and you did an interview, apparently you switched up a bit and you said that Raja should not be arrested. So were you paid off?
I never said that.
Well, that's what people heard, and they're saying you were paid off by Rampage Jackson. So is that accurate? Were you?
Well, if Rampage, you want to pay me off, I'm open to it. You know what I mean?
What's your price?
A couple million, $1 million. $1 million. All right. I got things to do, It's a lot of gold chains I could buy. No, the point was this. I felt at the time that there was so much going into that this kid's so volatile that he should have never been put in that situation. The guy who brought him there was supposed to be his coach, a mentor. And if I was somebody's coach or a mentor, I would never in my life allow them to be in any type of danger to themselves, to their livelihood, their lives, their family's livelihood. I'm responsible for this person. I'm their coach, right?
Right.
So what I was saying is that he shouldn't have a max jail sentence over this because there's so many moving pieces involved in this. I have a little bit of compassion, right? He's pushed into this bad situation. He's hyped up. He got all these moving pieces, and nobody wanted to be a freaking adult and just have a better conversation than, what took place. So that's what I was getting at, is not a max sentence, a mandatory mental health evaluation, like a sentence that's substantial, but not overdoing it, with a mandatory of you can't have any type of parole or anything early until you have this mandatory health evaluation and therapy program.
So those were your thoughts when you did the interview. Do you still?
So, fine. As far as I know, it was his first offense. That's his opinion. I don't think so. I think he would have taken Stu's life if they didn't pull him off. It was definitely an attempt on his life. My guess is we're not going to get like an attempted murder charge. I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get like an aggravated assault or something like that. Or maybe they'll start with an attempt and then plea it down. I don't know if LA will even give him jail time, to be honest with you. What I'm glad to hear is that Stu is Stu is also suing him. You see the comments. Doug saved a life and saved Raja from possible manslaughter charge at the very least. The Jacksons and their fanboys should be thanking him. Someone give this humble hero a shot. He blasted an unconscious man 20 times in the head, and the only reason why he stopped is because someone physically intervened. Not the type of person we want wandering around in society. I agree. The Doug Malo guy is the most honest and greatest guy I've heard from in a while. In a world surrounded by so many fake pieces of social media garbage, this guy's such a relief. The 17-year-old kid deserves more credit. He had a grown man standing around him doing nothing, decided to do something. Was he 17? That guy's only 17. Oh, that's hard to believe. 20 plus unanswered punches to an unconscious person's head should be instant jail for anyone. We're lucky that Stu is even alive. I'm dumbfounded how most of the other wrestlers did nothing for so long when Stu's unconscious head was getting bounced off the canvas full of blood. Well, I think it happened so fast. I mean, 20 punches from like a trained individual, but what does that happen? That could happen in under a minute. That could probably happen in 30 seconds. So I think people did react. I think there was probably a level of shock there that, I'm not gonna get down on the guys who didn't react fast enough. Plus, if you didn't have a good angle, you might have thought that he was pulling the punches or that he was hitting the mat or something like that. You might not have seen that he was, actually connecting. It says wrestler who pulled Raja Jackson off Syko Stu says Jackson will be arrested and sued. Detective, this says here, detective I talked to outside of the case, I just asked him about formalities. Malo explained that the detectives are gathering information. They want to make sure that it basically wasn't part of the fight. And, I think basically everyone, knew that was not part of the fight. He also says, I know from a decent source that lawyers are involved. We know that lawyers are involved, so let the process play out, and then we'll know. But I can say that there's a high probability of a lawsuit. I feel like right now the best thing for me to do is shut myself in a room and be quiet because this is a lot. I didn't ask for any of this. All I asked was to break up a fight or an attempt on someone's life. By the way, Syko Stu's GoFundMe is at $220,000. Again, that sounds like a lot of money, but a week in the hospital, if I don't know if you get to have health insurance if you participate in wrestling. I don't know, but a week in intensive care would probably cost more than that. So I'm glad to see it continuing to go up and continuing to rise, because this guy's probably needs $500,000 just in medical bills. I don't know if Raja Jackson has any money that he can even sue him for. People look at Rampage Jackson, like he has a bunch of money, but does Raja have money in his bank account that Stu can get? Probably not. He probably has almost nothing in his bank account. So he's going to need, he's going to need that GoFundMe money. So I'm glad to see people are rising up and rising to the occasion and helping this dude out. I'm sure it takes a while too for the police. They have to interview Stu, who basically just got out of the hospital. So I'm hoping I get to report very soon of charges being brought, and make sure you keep it locked in here. Subscribe or follow down below to make sure you don't miss a single video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.